we like to repurpose, reuse, use what we have here on the farm. And a lot of us do that for just being able to reuse things, you know, recycle, not be throwing away. But then another reason is the economical side of that. And so today we're going to talk about pallets. And everybody and every homestead on YouTube, I think, has done some kind of pallet video. But I want to show you how we're using them a little bit. This isn't really a how-to, this is just an idea of what to use your pallets for. We know we can get them for free. Lots of people are just willing to get rid of them. And so we're gonna use them for goat pens in our barn here. So what I've done for this goat pen here is I've got right here, I don't know if you can see it too well, but I actually have a 2x8 here, and I think this here is a 2x4. It doesn't matter what kind, I would call that a stringer. It doesn't matter what it is, but I think you could fit up to a 2x10 in there. We have just this lumber laying around. And you can see how the barn was made is we've got a post here against the wall. We've got a post here, divider post here. And then we have one here. So I've just used that. And actually this area here is one pen. You could cut this into two and have two pens here. We've just decided that we will use this whole area as one pen. And we'll use this whole area as another pen. Here, why don't you come in here, I'll show you how this works. So you're going to use these. This is exactly how these stringers are working here. And you put these up first, and then you can see how these are they're cut in here, and that's to put your forklift forks in, and what you know, industrially how they pick up the pallets with their forklift in an industrial setting or whatever to ship these. And so that's where I put my stringers across, and I'm using just, actually these are deck screws, they're not going to rust, they're going to hold together really well. And I put those into the posts that were already there. I did put this post in as an extra, just to kind of even out the size of our pens, but otherwise I would have used just the regular posts that were already with the barn, and I would have just come over and found any one of these 2x8s here actually that to tie into. So really simple, and like I said, it only takes two stringers, and you have a really sturdy, amazing pen for your animals. They're not going to get out of it. One nice thing about pallets is you have all this 1x material here to hang stuff on. You know, you can get a feeder, a hangable fence feeder, and they'll fit right in here. You can move them into whatever section you want, and it just works really well. What I am going to show you today is how, when I get a section like this that isn't, it's a little bit smaller than a pallet area, then I need to cut that pallet down. I need to put it back together, and then put hangers on here and hinges on here. So that's what we're going to work on now. So as we put our pallet pens together, you kind of want to map it up and think about how these pens are going to go together. When I first started these pens, I thought about having this as a closed off pen, and then having this no door here. I was just going to put like a little gate here that I could just move easy, no problem. And my thought was that we can separate the kids from the moms, because we would like to milk these goats once a day. And so I thought, well, we wanted one completely be able to lock off and gate it up, maybe for the kids to keep them away from the mom, but maybe we just wanted to put the moms in here, and we wouldn't have any issues just by putting a gate across. And so what I did was I made this gate able to close here and lock up just with a small latch here. But then as you opened it, it went all the way across, and now it's really the gate for this pen here. So those are just some things to think about. Sometimes you might only need one gate for 2 pens. Or, you know, you're bringing the goats in and you want a certain goat in this pen, so you close off this pen and then she can't go in here. So you're kind of killing, you know, 2 birds with 1 stone, I guess you could say. But what we've decided now is that it'd be better off just to go ahead and install 2 gates just like this. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to cut this pallet down, fit it in there, and put that gate in. So the way that I measured this hole with the, I just used the pallet that I'm going to be using. I held it up there and I marked off about where I wanted that to be cut. And you can see this one, there's a gap here. You don't have to be perfect. It's not going to hurt anything to have, you know, a little bit of a gap there. Okay, so I've just made my line on the pallet about where I thought would be good there. And I'm just going to take my circular saw and run down that line with this circular saw. Okay, so I've cut this end of the corner. There's nothing straight about it. It doesn't matter. It's just getting it close. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take a hammer, because these are nailed and not screwed, and we're going to take all the little pieces off here because we want to use this 2x4 that made the center piece here, the center piece of board. And we're going to reinstall that back in our pallet, so it looks just like the pallet did. It's just been cut down and it's now to our size. So then after we do that, we're going to cut it perfectly straight along what is straight to this board. So that might not be, this board isn't perfectly straight, but when you cut it down and you have it exactly along this board, it looks a lot nicer than trying to cut it straight and then trying to fit this board to your pallet planks. So that's where we're at. So I'm going to cut this with the circular saw so that it's flush with this, and that'll make it look a lot more finished than if I cut this perfectly straight and then found out this board isn't straight, and it just doesn't always work out. So that's how I would recommend doing it. It's actually a lot faster as well to do it that way. So we've got our pallet up here in place, and the hinges here I've already attached. These hinges just are barn hinges from Menards, and what I've done is they come with little black screws, and I've used those here, but anywhere that a longer screw is going to help to support the whole weight of the pallet, I've used the deck screws that I used everywhere else. So I used deck screws holding it to the post here, and I was able to use it here and here where it helps keep the pallet together as well. And I did that on both hinges, the bottom hinge here and the top hinge here. And they just work really, really well with this just really simple little latch. The goats aren't pushing on these. They're not, it's not a big deal. And so, you know, they work, they swing really nice, and they swing all the way. That's a nice deal. It just gives you room to work here. So that's kind of my take on how we're using the pallets here on 20 Acre Farms, and I do think they have a lot of uses, and I think that you can use pallets, you can make them look good. You know, you can go through the pallets that you get, and you can pick the best ones out of the ones you get and throw the others away. So yeah, I think pallets are a great tool, and I would use them, and I think you can make them look nice. And in this case, we're using them as the goat pens, but they could be used as pallet fencing. They can be used outside pens. So just a lot of different a lot of different options, and I think they're worth taking the time to make them work. So that's our pallet video for 20 Acre Farm.